everybody, welcome to our new episode on ExCEED podcast series. I am Shardul, Program Coordinator at the Center for Excellence in Entrepreneurship and Development, more commonly known as CEED. At CEED, we focus on conducting evidence-based policy research more related to entrepreneurship and focus on issues faced by nano-enterprises. We are here to discuss the article which was recently published in the EPW journal, which focuses on the issues faced by nano-enterprises. We have Mr. Shardul Manurkar, who is the co-author of the article. Shardul is an associate director at PC office at the Gokhale Institute. He has been a research scholar and a published author for over a decade, and his areas of interest are more towards entrepreneurship, public policy and governance. Hi Shardul, welcome to our episode. Before we actually get into the specifics of the article, can you please tell our viewers, what has been the inspiration of writing this article? What were your initial thoughts?
I'm delighted to be here at the podcast at CEED. I started working with a non-profit organization called deAsra, and in 2021, they specifically focuses on the nano-enterprises. Till that time, and even now, we don't have a specific definition what we call as a nano-enterprises. And what motivated me on working on the definition of nano-enterprises is for many of us have a very fixated view or perception about the entrepreneurs or enterprises. When we discuss about enterprises or entrepreneurs, it's the top line is always the Tatas, Birlas and Ambanis.
Right.
And next now we have the Startup India, now we have Shark Tank,
Right.
shows like Shark Tank or the Picture series. So we have an entrepreneur who is doing, inventing something big thing, then VCs are coming, angel investors are coming. So that kind of thing is always associated with enterprises. But when I started working with deAsra, to my surprise and even also to broaden my understanding, this was really a realization, okay, the grocery store which is next to me, he's also an entrepreneur.
Right.
The guy who cuts my hair probably once in a month, he's also an entrepreneur. And he's employed, he's doing his job very good. Or the chai wala who sells the chai, and
Right.
now he has a lot, many, shops in a city
Right.
or multiple cities or coffees, selling coffee. Those are also entrepreneurs. And what role they have
Right.
in the society or in the particularly in the public policy. So that's how we started on thinking. As a lead, I was lead of research and insight at deAsra,
Right.
and we started thinking we need to do something about, first of all, identifying them, defining them,
Right.
and attributing some characteristics to them.
Right.
So that's how we started delving deep into this topic.
Right. So when you actually speak about defining them and characterizing them and identifying some indicators as to what actually a nano-enterprise is, how would you really, what have been the indicators that you've, come across so far, and how would you really classify one as a nano-enterprise?
So when we started the definition, we started with the standard definition in India. So as of now, enterprises in India are defined or categorized, both defined and categorized
Right.
in the three ways: micro enterprises, small enterprises, and medium enterprises. The two main criteria used for this categorization and definition are annual turnover and the investment. So first of all, when we started defining nano enterprises, we had faced a lot of issues as to find out the data.
Right.
We have absolutely no data about the investment and annual turnover of these small or very small enterprises,
Right.
unlike the big ones. So we started defining the characteristics. As I mentioned the examples earlier, like a barber shop
Right.
or a clothes dry cleaning shop. What characteristics they have? First of all, they are informal. They don't have access to credit. They don't have a digital presence.
Okay.
Mostly they borrow money from their friends, from their family. That's the very standard way they operate.
Right.
They don't have a credit history.
Okay.
which in a way puts them in a difficult spot to access a formal credit through bank or formal credit through NBFCs.
Okay.
So we started identifying first characteristics, and then we started to narrow down how these characteristics can be fitted into the existing schema of the definition, which is annual turnover and the investment.
Right. Okay. So, since since this is such a niche category, why and how have they been included in the larger ambit of the MSME category over the years? Like, how has that been possible?
Okay, so over the years, this is not a very typical phenomenon. Till 96 or 97, Government of India had a different category for the enterprises called tiny enterprises.
Okay.
And very interestingly, a historical tidbit, this categorization started in 1938
Okay.
as a part of National Planning Committee, which was set up under the Jawaharlal Nehru.
Okay.
And even during that, there was a specific category which was catering to cottage and very small industry. And that definition tried to include all small, or what today we at least nominate them as a nano enterprises.
Right.
But over the years, when me and my co-author went through the literature, post 90s and particularly when the reform happened, and India became the member of WTO in 93-94, the shift from industry to enterprises started. And India started focusing on large enterprises.
Right.
And in order to comply with the global definitions, we brought in an MSME Act, which is called as Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Act in 2006. And we clubbed all the small enterprises in one category, which is called as a micro as of now.
Okay.
Just to tell you the statistics, which is a very startling fact. So, according to 2015-16 survey done by MSME Ministry, there are 6.34 crores MSMEs in India, out of which 6.3 crores, which is 99.02% enterprises, fall into the micro category.
Okay.
Only 3 lakh enterprises fall into the small category, which is around 0.7-0.8%, and remaining only 50,000 category falls into the medium category. So if you draw a triangle, if you draw a pyramid basically, so the base is so huge and it is so diverse. And that's why we thought this is completely asymmetry of, first of all, knowledge, resources, and also the clubbing of these different categories, different turnover, different segments is not really working. And this became very stark, particularly during the COVID. I joined deAsra post the second wave, and we all know most of the enterprises, and particularly small enterprises, the grocery shop, maybe your tailor, maybe your barber, they were cobbler, they were facing a lot of problems coming out of COVID. Government has issued multiple notification, many schemes, but unfortunately they could not reach. And that's why we started research in this area, how this policy and scheme can reach to these segment of enterprises, and why they are not reaching as of now. And that's why we identified, okay, as of now they are absolutely invisible. What we see is a top and middle portion, but bottom we cannot see it. And even if you could see it, it's a 99% of enterprises. And that's why we went into the more deeper into, first of all, defining a nano enterprises, and then at least making a recommendation, you separate micro, either you bifurcate it and call it micro and nano, and you treat medium and small as a
separate entities. Okay. So since you obviously spoke about the pandemic and also how the micro and the nano segment form such a huge proportion of the whole MSME category, how has the policy and the implementation been a part of not catering or not supporting these nano enterprises? I mean, what has been the gap over there?
For this, I'll quote a very interesting report submitted to the Parliament of India in 2021. So, aftermath of COVID, Parliament set up a panel to identify issues pertaining to COVID faced by different enterprises,
Right.
standard like micro, small, and medium.
Right.
The panel explicitly mentions that whatever government has given out as a supporting measure in terms of scheme, in terms of financial resources to the enterprises has not reached to micro enterprises.
Okay.
Most of the benefits have been, or most of the beneficiaries have of those schemes or packages have been in the medium or small category.
Right.
So that is a very telling picture.
Right.
And second thing is post-COVID we did a couple of surveys
Right.
asking enterprises in all the categories, including micro, small, and medium,
Right.
asking them how they have been benefited, what was the government support, did they have, were they relying only on government support or were they relying on support from their family, friends, and many other digital platforms or NBFCs. So the survey also gave us an idea that policies or schemes and financial packages are not reaching out to the intended beneficiaries
Right.
who are really needed.
Okay. Is it because of their unawareness or?
So there are two parts. Of course, as you rightly said, there is one is lack of awareness is definitely one. Second is their invisibility.
Okay.
So first, as I mentioned in the first point, the bottom of the pyramid is so hugely crowded. Whatever the trickle down in the bottom, it only benefits more even top amongst the micro.
Right.
So micro category as of now is having any enterprise having turnover between say 0 to 10 crores and an investment up to 1 crore.
Right.
So there are many enterprises who are having turnover between 50 lakh, 80 lakh or 1 crore. And government package or policies are reaching to the enterprises which are having these two categories like investment and turnover up to 5 to 6 crore. So
Right.
first of all, these again bottom of the bottom level of pyramid are invisible.
Okay.
And our approach or our idea is to make them visible first.
Right. Okay. So since you speak about visibility of nano enterprises and that there should be a formal definition in the future, the turnover and the investment criteria has obviously been set for the MSME category. The article also speaks about how investment and turnover should be the formal sort of criteria even for the nano enterprises. Do you think this criteria is sufficient or appropriate in the sense?
Frankly speaking, this criteria for even the entire MSME gamut is inadequate. There have been many papers and literatures which have been identified, scholars have identified that the two criteria are inadequate to define such large amount of enterprises in India. So some in between during 60s and 70s government also tried with a number of employees. But since we do not have the real-time data, we could not capture the data. In addition to that, we have a seasonality effect on the employment level. So we could not sustain that criteria for a longer time. And then government settled on these two criteria, which is annual turnover and investment. Of course, this is not sufficient, and particularly for nano enterprises because they are informal. So sometimes, or not sometimes, but most of the times, in the nano enterprises, family members work. And in some nano enterprises, they employ external people. So in future, I would love to see the employment as in one of the parameter to define nano as well as all MSMEs categories. But right now, in order to what we can say is to make it in a more governmental way,
like a structured
way. We adhere to the existing schema
right.
of annual turnover and investment, and then we have to identify the line basically.
Right.
What should be the line?
Right.
And we did that.
Okay, that's interesting. Maybe to just sort of structure the
Yes.
existing framework.
It could have a more acceptability to begin with.
Right.
Of course, it can be contested, it can be debated. This is a scholarly article, so me and my co-author, Dr. Ivan, are very happy to discuss, debate, and it can
Definitely.
rework.
Probably more parameters also would be included in the future. Okay, any concluding thoughts as to how this distinction of segment and how can it actually impact the economy and the sector as a whole, like the larger sector?
Yeah, so currently MSME sector contributes about 42%, 42 to 43% of India's GDP, and about 28 to 30% of 28 to 30% to the employee.
Right.
As I said, micro enterprises. So there is some data available about the specifically regarding to the employment.
Right.
What challenge we are facing currently in the Indian economy is of course unemployment.
Yeah.
So of about 6 crore micro enterprises employ only 11 crore people. So that is approximately 1.8 or 2 people per enterprises. Secondly, their contribution to the export is really small. The value addition is also very small. Unfortunately, the data is not captured in category wise. Even as we speak now, we don't have a separate data for micro, small, or medium enterprises. At least not state government, and neither the union government keeps the data. So, but however, these small and nano enterprises, they have a potential to grow at 5x or 10x.
Right.
So there is a huge potential in these nano enterprises to outperform and outgrow,
right,
which can definitely help our macroeconomic indicators.
What do you think are the policy recommendations to the government, or what could be the initial steps as to conveying to the government that okay, nano segment should be distinguished from the MSME category?
So first I would suggest is the availability of segment-wise data on multiple parameters. For example, we don't have how many micro enterprises are, how many, or what is the employment, how much is the investment they do, how much is the investment they attract. So segment-wise data availability is the first thing. Second is to separate micro from small and medium. And third would be divide the micro between micro and nano. That would be, I would say, the 3 steps that government can consider taking for this recategorization of enterprises.
Thank you so much. And I'm sure our viewers would be very interested to know that such a larger category of MSMEs are nano and micro for that matter. And very insightful conversation. So thank you so much, Shardul, for this interesting conversation, and I'm sure our viewers would be very interested to hear. CEED at Gokhale Institute is taking this research forward in multiple ways. Please stay tuned for our recent developments and updates through our new episodes at our ExCEED podcast series. Please find the link to the article in the description below. Stay tuned. Thank you.